Order 66 was one of 150 contingency orders given to clone troopers in case of emergency situations. Order 66 was given to initiate the extermination of the Jedi Order, and what began as an orchestrated attack became a full purge of the Jedi. The contingency orders, including Order 66, were common knowledge throughout the Senate, so this raises the question, did the Jedi know about Order 66? I am here today to answer that very question, and the revelation that accompanies the answer is extremely intriguing. Now, of course, the Jedi had no idea Order 66 would be initiated when it was, after Palpatine was ousted as a Sith by a group of Jedi, but were the Jedi aware of the Order's existence at all? The answer is actually yes, although it was construed into something completely different than its original purpose. The contingency orders were mainly orders dealing with the inner workings of the Republic in case of treason or betrayal. This is in fact why there is also an order pertaining to removing the Chancellor from office or even killing him. While the Jedi are a part of the Republic, they are less so a part of the Senate. Although they are somewhat involved, a lot of the issues go past their involvement. The main purpose for Order 66 would be to eliminate Jedi who had turned against the Republic, allied with its enemies, and committed treason. The Order itself was never intended to be used on a wide scale, just more isolated incidents of betrayal. But through Palpatine's master manipulation, he allowed himself an out, informing the Senate that Order 66 was justified because the Jedi Order in its entirety had gone turncoat, rather than just a smaller group. In a way, the contingency order in place for the Chancellor was there to ease the minds of the Jedi, so that they would feel more secure, knowing that it was necessary for all the components of the Republic to have safeguards. Again, this all stems from Palpatine's manipulation of the Jedi. In large part, this was overlooked by the Jedi because Palpatine was clouding their minds, making things seem unclear, and thus the Jedi made unsafe and unwise assumptions. Whilst Palpatine was clouding the minds of the Jedi with the Force, he was also clouding them with the fine print. Jedi were not senators, or people meant to be heavily involved in politics. Jedi were never trained to analyze the fine print, simply be keepers of the peace. This was a mistake Yoda later in fact realized, seeing that his initial worries about the Jedi becoming generals and involving themselves directly in a war was a mistake, as they were meant to simply be keepers of the peace, not politicians or soldiers for the Republic. Interestingly enough, we know Luke Skywalker actually distanced himself and his new Jedi Order from the New Republic after it rose, most likely to avoid the problems encountered by the Clone Wars era Jedi. So to blatantly answer the question, yes, the Jedi did know about Order 66. They just did not have the necessary knowledge and foresight to see it as it was. They just viewed it as a precaution in case any Jedi turned against the Republic. This of course would not be a regular thing that would be overlooked by the Jedi, but was in fact only possible because of the tumultuous state of the galaxy at the time. Palpatine actually had to make a war and construct an enemy, pitting the very galaxy against itself in order to implement it as well as he did. The fact that the Jedi were actually somewhat aware of the thing that would be their ultimate demise is a really insane thought. This all really goes to illustrate how extremely well orchestrated and thought out Palpatine's rise actually was. Palpatine actually had to wait in large part for the Jedi to make a move on him before he called for Order 66. Palpatine spent years waiting for all the stars to align so that he could go back and pull strings set in place years prior. This, in very large part, makes Palpatine's words to Mace Windu even more powerful. His comment, "It's treason then," held so much bigger implications than simply in that moment, but was meant as a final small inside remark to himself. Palpatine used the Jedi confronting him to his absolute advantage, pointing to the fact that they appeared to be committing order-wide treason. And the thing that really adds the most insult to injury is that the Jedi knew about it all along, and if they had just taken the time, they could have more effectively dealt with Palpatine. Palpatine used the war itself to make the Jedi, in a way, more reckless and ill-prepared for the situation. Many of you may be wondering how all this was possible anyway, and to this I say, we must remember the plan to seize the galaxy and destroy the Jedi was not one started by Palpatine, but one that had been pondered and labored over for hundreds of years, reaching back to the time of Darth Bane. Palpatine simply had the pleasure of seeing all the pieces fall into alignment. So there you have it, the Jedi actually knew about Order 66 in some regard. I hope I explained it well enough to grasp fully, and I think it's interesting to really see how far the rabbit hole goes when concerning the plan of the Sith. So tell me how you feel about this. Were the Jedi too naive, and should they have seen this coming, or did Palpatine simply play the Game of Thrones, Worlds, too well for anyone to decipher his true intentions? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and if you have any other Star Wars questions you want answered, be sure to comment them down below, and one could be made into a video. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.